Hey everybody, it's me, MiaFran again. Welcome back to my channel and to another Fruits Basket Season 3 episode review. I'm sorry that the last one was a little bit late, and this one's also going to be late, but I'm going to try to get episode 5 onward out as soon as possible, like right after I record it, or like day of, maybe the next day. It really just depends on when I record, but I'm going to try not to let this happen too often. Just because I know, it's coming out weekly. I want to make sure I'm keeping in touch and keeping updated, as weekly as possible. But anyway, let's talk about episode 4 entitled "I'm Home." So, like I mentioned in the last episode, this one is focused on Rin and Hatsuharu, and they're one of my favorite couples in Fruits Basket. Kureno and Uo-chan are one of my favorite couples. I was a big Yuki Toru shipper for a really long time before, that didn't seem to, happen. And then, of course, I like Hatsuharu and Rin. I think out of all the couples that I'm, most invested in terms of just, I ship them the most together, it probably is Hatsuharu and Rin. Just because I love Kureno. Man, if I was Uo-chan, I would die to be in Uo-chan's place. It's Kureno. Same with Machi. I would die to be in Machi's place because I love Yuki as well. But anyway, talking about Hatsuharu and Rin. So, we kind of get into this episode where we kind of left off the last time a little bit. Basically, people are wondering where Rin is, and nobody seems to really know the truth. And it's not until Kureno figures out that Akito is making sure that someone is getting fed. Well, I mean, she's not really making sure. She's just kind of making one of the, servants or one of the maids in the house to bring food to somebody. So he kind of secretly follows this maid, and she goes outside and is bringing some food to the building that we saw in the last episode, wherein we saw Akito with the scissors. And it's the cat building. It's the building specifically made for the cat, or the room for the cat, that the cat eventually gets locked into until they die, basically. And so Kureno stops this maid and is like, "What are you doing? Why are you going over here? This is for the cat. Nobody's in here." And she mentions "Oh, but she hasn't eaten in days. I'm afraid something's gonna happen to her, but if I don't bring the food out here, I'm gonna get in trouble." And Akito said that, if I don't do what I'm supposed to, my family could get hurt or whatever. So basically, this girl is being blackmailed into having to bring food to Rin, who's basically being kept prisoner in the cat room, house building thing. And so Kureno's just don't worry about it. Tell them that that it was me. I'm the one who kind of if they ask you what happened, just, say that it was me, kind of interfering. So he goes in there, he finds Rin is in there. She's basically in a catatonic state. She hasn't eaten in days. She is kind of dizzy, delusional, she looks pale. She's not herself, obviously. So they get Hattori to take her to an actual hospital, because they basically break her out of this prison. Her hair's been cut. It's kind of a mishmash hair cutting, because of course Akito just kind of cut random pieces off because she's evil. We see that Hiro is kind of being a good big brother to his new little sister. She's a little baby, and his mom is kind of talking with I think it's Kagura's mom about what's going on, and is hey, so is Rin back at or is Suzu, is she back at your house? I heard that Kagura had to get her diploma for her and bring that. She didn't get to go to her graduation. And Kagura's mom is yeah, well, she hasn't really come back, and we haven't heard anything. We just know she's in the hospital. We're not sure when she's gonna come back. And there's kind of having small talk, and Hiro is kind of reflecting on being, a different person, kind of like trying to become a better person, basically. So then we see him walking home, and we see that Kisa is also walking home from school, and she's like, oh, I wanted to come visit. I was going to go to your house and go visit your sister. I wanted to, come see her. And he's like, okay, cool. And, they're just kind of, again, small talk. He's talking about how he wants to kind of change himself, especially because now he sees his little sister and she's so innocent, and he wants to make sure that he can protect her and kind of like give her a better life than what he's gotten, and he wants to make sure that everything's gonna be okay for her, because obviously she's not a zodiac, so she doesn't have to worry about that, but he still wants to watch out for her. She's his baby sister. And they run into Hatsuharu, and Hiro just kind of like basically tells him the truth and says, I saw Akito push Rin out of the window. She did, well, he doesn't know Akito's female, but Rin, she wasn't hurt. It wasn't an accident or anything. She was deliberately pushed out of the window. Akito wanted to hurt her, and I didn't say anything because I was afraid. So he's basically just apologizing to Hatsuharu, I'm sorry that I didn't tell you. I was just too scared. Because remember when they saw the play in season 2, Hatsuharu kind of was trying to get Hiro to talk to him, and Hiro was I'm not gonna tell you anything, but he really wanted to tell him that he saw that happen. And then he turns to Kisa and is like, I'm really sorry too. I should be also apologizing to you, because if I had just tried to protect you better, then you wouldn't have gotten hurt. Because he kind of also realizes, he's like, Haru, Rin is trying to break the curse. The reason Akito pushed her out of the window is because Akito found out about you guys. That's the reason why Rin got hurt and was in the hospital. It's because you guys were found out, and she's just trying to protect you and break the curse. And so yeah, that's why he also apologizes to Kisa, I'm really sorry, I just I wanted to protect you and I couldn't, but now I'm gonna try my best, because I don't want that to happen to you, what happened to Rin. And he's just I'm so sorry. And Hatsuharu is just kind of alright, thanks for telling me. So then he goes to Akito, and Hatsuharu just kind of is all badass about it. I was clapping and cheering for him this whole episode. He just goes to Akito and confronts her and is why did you do this? What? Just tell me the truth. You really wanted to hurt her and stuff. And Akito is just kind of playing this stupid little game with him. Kureno's also there, just kind of not observing. He is part of the conversation a little bit, because he's trying to calm the situation, but obviously that's not working, because it's Akito. She's gonna go crazy, as she does. And basically she's why did you choose her over me? You're supposed to love me, supposed to be saved for your god, not for someone else's romantic feelings. And because Akito is playing into that thing of, or that idea, this traditional idea that they've gone with, after all these years, that the animals are supposed to love God and God alone. They don't love anybody else. And of course that's really messed up. Akito is very controlling, because again, she's also grown up kind of in an abusive household. We see a little bit more of her mother in this episode as well, and we kind of see that even her mother was manipulating Rin, making her feel like she could help her and stuff. She does tell Rin hey, if you do this thing for me, I could definitely help you figure out a way to break the curse. And what she's after is this box that Akito has in her room, and it's her father. It's his ashes. It's an urn, basically, and her mother wants it, and Akito is very protective of it. So Rin did try to take the box, and that she was caught by Akito, and that's why she got put in the box, in the cat box. So it's just, it kind of like builds up to this point where Hatsuharu is gonna basically, I mean, if he could kill Akito right here, he totally would have, but he doesn't. But he, scares her enough to make her think that that's what's gonna happen. And it was really intense, very intense moment, and Kurano is still just kind of trying to like calm him down, and Akito even gets mad at Kurano, like, why did you take her out of there? Because he tells Hatsuharu, like, she's at the hospital, like, she's fine. We were able to, get her there safely before anything really bad could happen. And then we see that Rin is in the hospital again, and she escapes because Hattori goes to check on her, and she's not there. She escaped through the window. And so then we kind of follow her. She's kind of in her hospital gown, kind of delirious, dizzy. She just kind of walked out of the hospital when she, hasn't eaten in days and is very weak. And she's kind of thinking, like, this is the end for me. Like, this is, like, I'm just gonna end up alone. I deserve it. I'm gonna die alone. Like, Hatsuharu had no right. Like, I didn't have the right to love him or have him love me, and we shouldn't have been together. Like, I just made this all a mess for him. And we see some flashbacks of them very intimately. I was like, damn, because I don't remember seeing that too much in the manga, but I could be wrong. It's it's been years since I read the manga, but I mean, it's very realistic, I think, when you kind of show these kinds of scenes between these characters. Like, yeah, they're in high school, they're like teenagers, but like, it happens, like, they're not stupid. They know those kinds of consequences, and if they want to do those kinds of things with each other and they're both okay with it, then we're gonna see those kinds of scenes. But it also, like, it kind of also emphasizes their relationship. Like, it's not just, like, they don't just have crushes on each other, like, they love each other. Like, they love each other so much that they've slept together multiple times, obviously. They're in love with each other that much that they've taken their relationship to that next level. So we kind of see them in flashbacks like that, and clearly it's very sweet and caring and loving, and she feels the safest when she's with Hatsuharu. And so she's kind of like lamenting as she walks down the street, like, all wobbly and stuff, just having just kind of taken off from the hospital. And she collapses on the ground, and she kind of like is falling in and out of consciousness, basically. And she kind of like imagines him there next to her, and it kind of parallels when they were younger and that happened. And she's kind of like, man, I wish this could stay like this forever. I wish I could actually be here with you. I wish this was real, because then at least I know, like, basically she's trying to kind of equate it to, like, at least I could pretend that everything was okay and that we were together. And she's like, man, I wish this wasn't a dream. And he's like, it's not a dream. So he did find her on the street there, and he's like, he's like really there. So he picks her up, carries her, and is like, it's gonna be okay, like, I'm gonna protect you. And it's really cute. He's like holding her, carrying her. It's very sweet. And that's kind of, where it leaves off. They're very, like, it's very hopeful. She's safe. She's in Haru's arms. She's where she wants to be. And he's kind of, like, vowed that he's going to protect her. Like, because at this point, he's like, I don't care if Akito knows that we love each other. Like, I don't really give a shit. He's, like, at this point, I feel like the Zodiac members, at least the ones that are more grounded in their feelings, the ones that are more accepting of, like, where they are and where they want to be, they're definitely gonna be more rebellious, I guess. You know, like, Hatsuharu's not afraid to get hurt, I guess, by Akito. Like, he knows it's a possibility because, you know, of course, we've seen others hurt. Rin, Kisa, Hattori. You know, they've all been, like, physically hurt, abused, kind of physically altered at this point because, you know, Hattori is almost, you know, blind. Almost, you know, not completely, obviously, like, but, you know, he was kind of hindered, visually impaired, rather, and so it's like we, you know, we're starting to see the bonds break, and it's symbolically shown as well in this episode. You know, it cuts to when Haru is yelling at Akito. You can kind of see the threads in this particular bond starting to break and fray. So, you know, his bond is starting to break, which, you know, definitely would symbolize the curse also being lifted. Because, again, as I mentioned before, it's like they feel that connection, but it's not really their own connection with whoever with whoever God is. It's more like that's the ancient connection between the actual spirits with each other and with God. So it's like, it's almost like they're on the outside looking in. And, you know, as every generation goes on with the Zodiac, like, it kind of gets weaker and weaker and weaker. And so, you know, they're all kind of feeling it. And then, you know, eventually they're not gonna feel it anymore. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. The next episode card was Momiji reading it, and he did not sound very happy. He sounded very upset and depressed a little bit, but, you know, excited to see where that's gonna lead us. Momiji, I feel like Momiji fans are gonna get a good dose of, like, ooh, wow, he's grown up and glowed up very soon. So I'm very curious to see how people are going to react to that, because, you know, he's gonna grow up soon. Not too soon, but, you know, he's definitely starting to figure out, like, what he wants and now, like, how he wants to present himself, and, you know, kind of, like, break out of his own insecurities and stuff as well. You know, they're all kind of, like, doing that. And it's regardless of age, because even the, you know, fully grown adults are finally kind of, like, breaking out of that as well. Like we've seen with Kureno kind of, like, trying to help the others out, and Hattori as well, kind of, like, questioning stuff with Akito, and even Shigure, which, you know, even though we already know, like, he's, like, you know, stupidly, hopelessly in love with Akito, but yeah, we'll see what happens. But I want you guys to let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. And if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. If you'd also subscribe if you do like my videos and my content. And of course, all my descriptions are in the links, or all my links are in the description down below. So you can go ahead and follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitch, check out my TikTok, and of course, click on my Patreon if you want to become a patron for as little as $1 a month. And of course, if you also, want to enjoy and have your name on the screen, like you see these names right here at the end of every single one of my videos, again, you can click the Patreon link for more info. And thank you to both Anime Palooza and Elizabeth for being the best patrons ever. So have fun, stay safe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!